Hi everyone, so welcome to Hai Chi, and Hai Chi is another nice large block with lots of texture, lots of color, lots of layers. If you like this sort of crochet, then you have definitely arrived in the right place. And if you've done my patterns before, then you'll be quite familiar with my style. What I wanted to say about Hai Chi is that Hai Chi is part of a series of 4 blocks, and the difference here is that I'm going to be designing 4 extensions for each block, and the extensions will be available separately, and this means that you can make a block, any of the 4 blocks, and you could use more than one extension for it. In effect, you would be able to make 16 blankets from the 4 blocks and the 4 extended parts, because you can mix and match them. So that's pretty much my project for the rest of the year. I will do some smaller projects in between, but I'm really looking forward to doing this. I think it's going to be so much fun. All the information you might need, any other information you might need, is all going to be in the pattern. And obviously I mention bits and pieces, extra information about the yarn and blocking and so on and so forth as we work our way through the pattern. So happy crocheting, and I shall see you in crochet land at round number 1. Bye. Okay, so we are on to round 1, and the color that I'm using is Harlem. So what we're going to do now is we're going to work a magic ring. So I would suggest that if you've never done a magic ring before, there are loads and loads and loads of videos on YouTube that can help you. I'm a terrible teacher. I've tried to show other people how to do things, and I just get, sometimes I think I crochet very intuitively. I don't even know half of the stitches and how to describe them. It's almost like my hand and my brain don't really work, so you'll just have to check this out. Alright, so we're going to work a magic ring, and then into the magic ring we're going to work a chain 4, and the chain 4 is equal to 1 treble. Then we're going to work another treble. Well, we would work another treble. Okay, I have to tell you it's very, very hot here. We're just going to work them together like that. Okay, and then we're just going to close that, and then we're going to work. So basically the pattern is 8 times 2 treble together. Right, so you're just going to go all the way around. So the yarn's a little bit squeaky because it is incredibly hot today. It's only 27 degrees, so we're talking about Celsius, because I live in Cape Town, South Africa. It's only 27 today, summer, we're in high summer, but the humidity is really, really high. I think it's about 70%. So we're going to do 8 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5. Okay, so I've done my 8 sets of 2 trebles together. So we should have 16 trebles, but 8 sets of 2 trebles together like that. Alright, you're just going to pull your magic ring closed, and we're just going to slip stitch into the top of our first treble like that. Okay, and then you're going to snip off. I always do another slip stitch like that just to make sure they're nice and tight. Right, and you're just going to pull that nice and tight, So you're going to have that little wagon wheel going on there. Alright, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times 2 trebles together, and that is the end of our round 1. Okay, so we're on to our second round. Now of course you can finish this off. I would suggest, if you haven't tried this kind of crochet before, this is sort of layered 3D effect, you might want to work maybe 5 rounds and just, you know, check that your stitch count is correct, etc., etc., before you work in your tails. Okay, so I'm not going to work in my tails yet. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to work between our sets. So, you know, we have our 2 trebles together, and we're going to work into the space between our sets of 2. And the color that I'm using is called Delft Zeil. Alright, and I always start off these puffs, because we're going to be working puffs, with a standing single crochet, and we're going to work yarn over times 3. 1, 2, 3. Right, chain 1 to close, chain 1, and we're going to work another one. 1, 2, 3, like that. Right, then we're going to yarn over, and we're going to skip right over. And now something I was doing when I was busy working my sample piece is working in my tails whenever I got the opportunity. So if you have the opportunity, work in your tails. Okay, so we're working yarn over times 3. I have to tell you that my hands are pretty clammy, or should I say sweaty, with the heat. Oh, goodness me. Right. So the only thing about, I'm all fingers and thumbs today. 1, 2, 3. Try not to get your tail caught up. 1, and then another. Chain 1, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So as I was saying, the yarn is a bit squeaky because it's quite a sweaty business here today, I have to say. So I'm hoping that the weather's going to cool down somewhat, but it is February, so we are actually in our midsummer month now. Right up until the end of January, it is still what I consider crochet weather, but from the beginning of February all the way sometimes to mid-April even, it gets very hot in Cape Town. And of course our summers are dry, which makes me wonder why we have so much humidity, but our summers are dry, so we can't expect a nice cooling shower later on. So we just swelter. And a chain 1. Okay, so you're just going to go on like that all the way around. You're going to be working 2 puffs, and you're going to work a chain 1 in between, and then immediately 2 puffs and a chain 1 in between those puffs. Okay, so you're not working a chain 1 there, you're only working a chain 1 between your puffs. So you should end up with 16 of your puffs, yarn over times 3, chain 1 to close. So you should end up with 16 of those, and you should end up with 8 chain 1s. Okay, so I shall see you at the end of round number 2. Okay, so I've gone all the way around my wheel, and to close round number 2, just going to slip stitch into that little hole at the top there, like that. Okay, and fasten off. And then I usually do another slip stitch just to make sure that everything is nice and secure. So what I have been doing is I kind of worked over my tails, so I'm just going to snip those off there like that. Okay, And there you go. Alright, so you should have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 puffs, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 chain ones. And I shall see you at round number 3. Okay, so we're on to round number 3, and with round number 3 the color that we're using is Venlo. Venlo, this beautiful kind of creamy rose pink, very pretty. We're going to be working into our chain 1 space between our puffs. Okay, so we're going to chain 3, so our attaching stitch is basically our first chain. Alright, so we're going to chain 3, then we're going to work a double crochet, we're going to work another double crochet, we're going to work a treble, 2 more double crochets, and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Going to slip stitch back into our chain 1 space. Then we're going to chain 1, and we're going to skip all the way over to our next chain 1. We're going to slip stitch into that. We're going to chain 3, yarn over, 2 double crochets, okay, 1 treble, 2 double crochets, 1, 2, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, slip stitch back into our chain 1 space, chain 1, slip stitch into our next chain 1 between our puffs, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, treble, 1, 2, double crochets, chain 3, chain 1, slip stitch into our next chain 1. Okay, so we're just going to go around like that, so you should have 8 sets of petals like that, and each of your petals will be 2 double crochets, 1 treble, 2 double crochets. So slip stitch back into your chain 1, chain 1, slip stitch into your next chain 1, repeat, and so on. Okay, so you should have 8 chain 1s like that, and you should have 8 of those sets, so 8 little petals like that. Okay, so I shall see you at the end of round number 3, and we'll finish that off together before we go on to round number 4. Okay, and to close our round number 3, well, this is the way I've done it. After you've worked your slip stitch into your last chain 1, you just snip off, pull your yarn through, and then feed it through the first single chain 1 there. Alright, like that. So maybe I'm doing it all wrong, but this is the way I always do it. Right, so it's a little bit awkward. So I normally just take my needle, I'll show you how, and so normally I just do this. So maybe I'm faffing a little bit here, but if you have another way of doing it, then do go ahead. So just pull that nice and tight, and then I basically feed it along the bottom of the last set of petals like that. Okay, right, and then back again. Just kind of go in like that and just feed it along. If I'm a little bit shaky, it's because I've had 2 cups of coffee. very naughty. Right, like that, and then you can fasten off. So just pull those along, and we have, right, so if we tuck that in like so, so it should look like that. Okay, there we go. Alright, so I would just go around, just make sure that I've got the right number of stitches for each set of petals, and then basically kind of work in all the ends. So that's the end of round number 3, and I shall see you at the beginning of round number 4. Okay, so we are on to round number 4, and the color that I'm using is teal. Not quite sure if that's the right pronunciation. It's T-I-E-L. So I think in the Style Craft Special DK it's probably raspberry or something like that. Raspberry, I think. Okay, so we're just going to do a slip knot. And then we're going to work into that little chain 1 between our sets, our little petals. Okay, so we're just going to attach it like that. Okay, we're actually going to be working slip stitches into those chain 1s. Now you're just going to turn your work a little bit sort of sideways, and we're going to be working 3 single crochets over that chain 3 that we did on each side of our sets of petals. So we did chain 3 there, chain 3 there. Right? Then we're going to work single crochet front post over our first double crochet. We're going to work a single crochet front post over our second double crochet. We're going to work a single crochet front post over our treble. We're going to chain 2. So we're doing a chain 2 picot, and then we're just going to slip stitch back into the back of our single crochet front post. Then we're going to work a single crochet front post over our next double crochet, single crochet front post over our next double crochet. Then we're going to work 1, 2, 3 single crochets, and we're going to slip stitch into that chain 1. I'm going to pull that nice and tight. Okay, and now it is a little bit awkward, but we're going to turn. You know, if you got good fine motor coordination, you shouldn't have a problem with this. Not like me. 1, 2, 3, so 3 single crochets into our first chain 3 of our set, 1 single crochet front post over our next double crochet, 1 single crochet front post over our next double crochet, 1 single crochet front post over our treble, chain 2, and slip stitch behind there to the back of that single crochet front post, then single crochet front post over our next double crochet, single crochet front post over our next double crochet, 1, 2, 3 single crochets over our next chain 3, and then slip stitch into our next chain 1. Okay, so it's going to look like that. Okay, just pull this down. Okay, so we're going to outline our little petals. Okay, so if you've never done my patterns before, you'll know that you won't know that I use, well, maybe from pictures, if you've seen pictures, you'll know that I use a lot of color, and so this is very much like those books, those coloring books where you have those mandalas, you know, with lots and lots of detail that you color in. So really, that's kind of what we're doing. We're drawing with yarn. Okay, so you're going to carry on doing what I've just done all the way around for the rest of your 6 petals. So you're going to be working 3 single crochets into your chain 3, then you're going to be working 1 single crochet front post over your next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches, 2 double crochets, treble, 2 double crochets, and when you get to your treble and you've worked your single crochet front post, you're going to chain 2 and work a chain 2 picot. That's how you get that little point, and then you're basically just going to mirror that side. You're going to go there, and then you're going to slip stitch into your chain 1 and then repeat. Okay, so I think that's quite simple, and I shall see you at the end of this round. We'll finish off this round number 4 together before we go on to round number 5. Okay, so I've worked my way around, and we're going to close off, I'm just going to work, I like to do that extra slip stitch, so it's going to look like that, you know, where it's just sort of floating about. And then to close off, same story as last time. Right, we're just going to work it closed like so. Right, so you should have your 2 little tails at the back there. Okay, and there you go. So it's going to look like that, right? And these little points are going to curl up a little bit like that. Okay, and that, so we can tuck this away. So if you're OCD like me a bit, they're not going to distract you. Alright, and it's basically, well, not basically, but it should look like that. Okay, and that is the end of your round number 4, and we are going to go on to round number 5 in a minute. Okay, so now before we go on to round number 5, this is an independent round, so that means you don't have to do it, but it really is kind of part of the design as well, I think. So it's this little bobbly bit. Alright, so it's nice and easy to make, and it breaks up this sort of big piece of color in the center, but of course you don't have to do it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to work a magic ring, and we're going to work 10 or 12 double crochets. So we're going to start with a chain 3, then we're going to work 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm working 10, okay, and then what we're going to do is going to pull our tail closed. Now you're going to slip stitch into the top like that, and then you're going to leave a fairly long tail, like quite a long tail, like that. Alright, so now we've got our long tail. We're just going to work, oopsie, wrong tail. Let's find our right tail. I almost did that again. Right, so we're just going to work that like so. Okay, so this is our center tail. We're just going to leave that there. Then we're just going to make a little cap, so like a tiny little sort of hat thing. And now you're going to thread your yarn. Okay, so I've cut mine, I made it maybe just a little bit too long. We're just going to pop that in like that. As I say, I'm all fingers and thumbs today. It is Monday morning. So now what you're going to do is you're going to kind of keep your thumb in the center like that. Right, just try and keep your center tail, and you're just going to work into the very front loop like that of the top of your double crochets, just like that. So you're just going in and out. Right, you're just threading, kind of working around your thumb like that. You just keep on going all the way around. And then you're going to pull it tight, and you should have that cute little bobbly bit like that. And now, so it's going to look a little bit like a sort of octopus, not an octopus, squid floating floating about with its tentacles. Right, then you'll have two tails. So you're going to have the tail you worked with, and then you're also going to have that middle tail like that. Alright, oopsie, don't do that yet. So now, oh no, that's correct. Sometimes I'm not even following my own instructions. You're just going to thread both of your tails like that, and you're going to go into the center of your first magic ring like so. Okay, just going to pull that nice and tight. Going to pull those tails through like that. Okay, so try not to get any knots. Okay, so basically you're just going to center it like that, and then, so somehow I have, oh there we go. Right, so, and then you'll just work around your kind of where you closed your magic loop in our first rounds, like that, you know, in our very first round. So you just go around, work it in like that. Right, a bit like putting on a button. Okay, so you just want to secure that nice and tight, pretty much like a button, as if you were making a button. So I'm just kind of digging that out there, because I want to make sure that it does go in nice and tight like that. Okay, alright, what you can also do, but it's a bit of extra work, is that you can work through the gaps between your two trebles, your two trebles together, and you can just grab the bottom like that. You know, you can work around each of the stitches and keeping it very kind of secure. I mean, that makes it very, very secure. But the problem with that method is that it does it slightly flattens your little bubble. Right, so there you go. Right, so so you're going to have that. I know it looked very awkward to do, but it does work, and I think it looks cute. And what you can also do, if you want to even build that up a little bit further, is you can make a French knot in the middle. Should we make a French knot? I think let's make a French knot. Let's use yellow. This is just for fun. Okay, you don't have to do this, but you know, these patterns are all about the bling. So and this pattern is called high tea, so it's, you know, very over the top. So what we're going to do is we're just going to create a little bit of a knot. You don't have to do a knot. Not so easy doing a knot with wool, so I just kind of do a few so they don't come through like that. Alright, and then again you're just going to find your center with your darning needle. You're just going to go through the top like that, right? And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you're going to go back into your center. So you've got to be pretty accurate with this, otherwise it's going to be off center like that. You just hold it down and gently feed it through. Oh, that's so cute. Oh, that's so cute. And then of course you do exactly the same. You just work in your ends. So there's quite a lot of room to work in your ends, because you can just work in your end around the base of your trebles like that. Okay, so that's just me kind of going over the top, but you can do that as well if you like. So that is very much an optional round. Okay, I do have it written in the pattern as an optional round. Okay, so that is the end of our optional round, and we are going to go next. We're going to go on to round number 5. Okay, so back to work after all our fun and games. And the color that I'm going to be using for round number 5 is Harlem. So we're going back to our dark color. So bear in mind when you're working kind of this kind of technique, could we call it a technique, of creating your 3D effects, color does play a part. So obviously your dark colors are going to recede and your light colors are going to jump forward. So when you're busy planning your colors, you know, think about including some dark colors that will fall behind your pieces that you want to stand out. Okay, so you know, it's worth doing a little bit of planning. So now what we're going to do is we're going to be working into our joining space between our puffs. So we're not going to work into the chain 1, we're going to work into that joining space over there. So it's much easier to do it from the back. So we're going to attach our yarn. We're just going to do chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and another chain 1. So it's going to be 1 double crochet, chain 1, 1 double crochet, chain 2, chain 2, yarn over, and again into that joining space, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 2, again into our joining space, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 2, yarn over, oopsie, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 2. Okay, right, so you're going to create that at the back, and you're working into those joining spaces. You're not working into the chain 1s, right, because we've already worked those. We're working into the joining space there. Okay, so you're just going to carry on like that, and I shall see you at the end of round number 5. We can finish this off together. Okay, so you've worked your last 2 chains, and then you're just going to slip stitch around your beginning chain 3 like that and fasten off. Right, so basically you've created V stitches there, like that. Chain 2, V, chain 2, so on. Right, we've gone all the way around like that. Okay, so that's the end of round number 5. Okay, so we're on to round number 6, and we're going to continue with our same color. Right, so I haven't worked in my tails because it's a little bit awkward at the moment because there's not many places to put them, but we are going to be able to hide them after this lot. So what you're going to do is find any of your V stitches, so any one of your V stitches, and we're going to work into that chain 1. And we're going to work a chain 3, which is equal to 1 double crochet. Then we're going to work another double crochet. We're going to chain 1, and we're going to work 2 more double crochets into that chain 1 space, like so. Right, and we've actually created our first corner. Okay, then you're going to yarn over and you're going to work 2 double crochets into our next chain 2. Excuse the squeaky yarn. I think it's a summer thing. Then we're going to work 2 double crochets into our next chain 1 space. Then we're going to work 2 double crochets into our next chain 2, and I'm actually working over the tails from the previous round, like that. Right, then we're going to yarn over and we're going to work into our next chain 1 space. We're going to work another corner, so we're going to work 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets. So it's not so easy to see this dark yarn. I'm working over the tails. Alright, and we have our second corner. Then we're going to yarn over. We're going to work 2 double crochets into our next chain 2. 2 double crochets into our next chain 1. 2. And 2 double crochets into our next chain 2. Yarn over and into our next chain 1 space. We're going to work 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets. That's our next corner. So I'm just going to do this all the way with you. 2 double crochets into our next chain 2, 2 double crochets into our next chain 1, 2 double crochets into our next chain 2, okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, going to work 2 double crochets into our next chain 1, chain 1, 2 double crochets. This is our fourth corner. 2 double crochets into our next chain 2, 2 double crochets into our next chain 2, 2 double crochets into our next chain 1, 2 double crochets into our next chain 2, and we're back to our chain 3 of our very first double crochet of our corner. We're just going to slip stitch into the top, yarn over, pull through. Okay, and so we have now got a little flower within a square, like that. Okay, so there we go. Right, everything should be sitting pretty. Okay, we can hide that underneath here if it's distracting. get underneath there. There we go. Like that. Okay. And so that is the end of our round number 6. Okay, so we should have 6. Our sides should be 6 and 6 and 6 and 6, so that's 24 double crochets, and our corners should be 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets, times 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and I shall see you at the beginning of round number 7, and you can actually work in your tails now, because that's what I'm going to do. See you in a moment. Okay, so now for round number 7 we are going to go back to our colour dockum. Okay, going to do a slip stitch to attach. So excuse me if there's a bit of a motorbike noise, but we have a neighbour across the road. He is 80, he's well into his 80s, but he loves pizza. So he often has the pizza delivery guy here practically every day. Anyway, so we are going to find our first corner. Okay, and we're going to chain 3. We're going to be working a popcorn into our first corner, chain 1 space. Right, so work over your tail. So we've got 2, 3, 4, 5. I did warn you about my noisy neighborhood. I've got quite used to it. Initially it used to drive me absolutely mad, but now I've kind of got used to it. Okay, now you're just going to close it, chain 1, and work another popcorn. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we're working into that chain 1 corner space, right? We're just going to grab like that, pull through, close. We're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now chain 6 if you're using cotton. You know, I'm using acrylic, and acrylic, you know, has that give, has that stretch in it, and I often, you know, do that. You know, where I have a certain number of stitches. Sorry about the noise. I have a certain number of stitches because I know that I've got that stretch, I've got that give. Hang on a sec. And off it goes. Once our gate was open, our little front gate, I have no idea why it was open. Obviously somebody had like opened it and, you know, maybe peeked into our garden or something and left the gate open, and my little dog Roxy ran outside when this motorbike came past, and she chased the poor guy up the road, and I was calling her to come back, but in fact I was laughing so much because it was so classic. I mean, she would not harm anybody or bite anybody, and it was just so funny. Oh, I'm a horrible person for laughing, but it was hilarious. Okay, so now if you're using cotton, I would say chain 6. Okay, because cotton doesn't really have that stretch that acrylic has. So we've done a chain 1 to close our popcorn, and I've done a chain 5. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to yarn over, and we're going to work through that V, our next V, so the next V stitch over there after our corner. Let me just cut that off. It's my little tail that I worked in. Okay, so we're going to work into that V there, and we're going to work over our slip stitch from that round. Okay, so we're going to kind of work over that. We're going to work kind of like a yarn over times 2 puff, you know. We're just going to do that twice. I'm going to pull it nice and tight. Right, so it's a bit awkward Okay, well there, so you got the motorbikes and now you got the dogs. Chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All I can tell you is that being able to do this while all this noise is going on has made me mentally very strong. We're going to yarn over, and into our next corner chain 1 we're going to work another 2 popcorns. So you're basically just going to repeat exactly what we did. 3, 4, 5. Okay, grab our chain 1, chain 1, chain 1 to close, chain 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Chain 1 to close, chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, yarn over, work through our next V-stitch there. Can you see our next V-stitch? We're going to work right over our joining space between our little border of our petals. We're just going to pull that through, and we're going to do that twice. So it's almost like a yarn over times 2 puff that we're working over there. Chain 1 to close. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Right, and then we at our next corner, so we into our next chain 1 corner, and we're just going to carry on with exactly what we've done. Right, so I'm just going to do this one and then I'll leave you to it. 4 and 5. And I'll stop in a moment and kind of show you exactly how it's going. Chain 1 to close, chain 1. Okay, so it's quite a big ball. So I'm trying to pull my yarn, working yarn. There we go. So it is going to look like that. So as I say, I am relying on the pull that you get from acrylic, okay? But if your popcorns are pulling in like that and looking a bit weird, they should be really nice, sitting nicely in the corner like that. But if they're not, then work extra chains, you know, until you don't want your work to start curling under. I mean, sometimes my patterns do that, but they're meant to do that, and then I have all sorts of tricks up my sleeves to change that. But in this case, you want your little piece to be lying nice and flat like that. Okay, so you're just going to carry on like that, and when you get to the end here of your round number 7, you're just going to slip stitch into the top of that popcorn, but I'll see you there. Okay. Okay, so we are on to round number 8, and the color that I'm using is, and there go the sirens. So today you've heard a bit of construction, motorbikes, dogs barking, and the sirens. Just a Monday morning in Cape Town, South Africa. Okay, so the color we're going to use now for round number 8 is called Rnds. So it's this lovely sort of mocha brown. And we're going to start in the space, so basically it's into your second double crochet from your corner, so to the left, to the left of your corner chain 1. We're going to work 2 double crochets into that space like that. Okay, so we're just going to work a chain 3, 1, 2, 3. I have to tell you I'm melting here. And then we're going to work another double crochet into that same space. Then we're going to work double crochet into our next 7 stitches. I think it's 7. 7. So basically, you know, all our double crochets along here. And then we're going to work 2 double crochets into that last space before, technically it is the last double crochet, but you'll see what I mean. Right. And then, I don't know, oh, that's where I started, that's why. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10, 11. Alright, so we're fitting 11 stitches, chain 2. Then we're going to scoot over, so you can actually work in front of your popcorns, okay, like that, because you can pull them to the front. You're just going to yarn over, you're going to work 1, and then another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 2 into that last spot. 9, 10, 11. So you should have 44 stitches in all, like that, okay? And you're going to chain 2, and as I said, you can work in front of your popcorns. So you're basically working into your corners over there, into your corner double crochets. 1, 2, a bit difficult to see, I know, because the yarn's dark, like that. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 2 into the first 2 of the side and 2 double crochets into the last 2. Okay, so I'm just going to pull that out like that. So it's going to look like that. You're just going to pop your popcorns to the front like so. Okay, so it's going to look like that. Right, so you're just going to carry on like that. So you should have 11 double crochets each side and 2 chains on each corner, so you know, behind your popcorns, like that. Okay, yep. Alright, so I'm going to see you at the end of this round, which is round number 8, and then we can carry on to round number 9. Okay, so I've done my last 2 chain 2s, and then we're just going to slip stitch into the top of our beginning chain 3. Snip off our yarn, and I know lots of people just pull through, but I do another one like that, just in case. So now it's going to look a bit wobbly, like that. So you're going to have that sort of wobbly pattern going on. That's going to be your back, that's going to be your front, like so. Okay, so just tuck our little tails underneath so they're not distracting. So I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like. Right, so as I say, you know, with the acrylic you've got that sort of stretch, and I do take that into account. So You know, if you're working with a, you know, if you feel at any point that your corner, you know, it's starting to fold in like that, then for example you could do an extra chain. Where I've done a chain 2, you can do a chain 3 or even a chain 4, but I wouldn't really go up to a chain 4 because then your popcorns are going to fall through the holes, although I have designed a way that they don't, but still. Okay, so it's going to look like that, and that is the end of round number 8, and I shall see you at the beginning of round number 9. Okay, so now we're going to do something fun. So the color that I'm using is Amstelveen. Okay, it's a beautiful, lovely sort of clematis purple. And now you're going to have to pay attention. So what we're going to do is create our slip stitch. We're going to be working over the chain 1 between our 2 popcorns, and we're also going to work over our chain 2 from our previous round, and we're going to be working 2 double crochets together. So we're going to start off with chain 3, okay, and another double crochet together, right? Just going to close them. Then we're going to work 2 more double crochets together like that. We're going to close it with a chain 1. Then we're going to chain 2, and we're going to work 2 more of those. So we're going to work 1, 2, sorry about the squeaky yarn. Okay, and again, I'm going to stop in a moment in case you can't see exactly what I'm doing. So we're basically working 2 double crochets, 2 times 2 double crochets together, and a chain 2 and 2 times 2 double crochets together. 2 times, is that correct? Okay, so you're going to have 4 times 2 double crochets together and 1 chain 2 into that corner space. We're working over both those corner spaces, the chain 1 and the chain 2. Now you're going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now we're going to be working yarn over times 2 because we're going to be working a treble, and what we're going to do is we are going to work into where you had that V, where we worked that little sort of puff stitch, the yarn over times 2, that V, the chain 1, we're actually going to be working into that chain 1 either side of the 2 double crochets, and we're going to be working 3 trebles together into that space, so into that chain 1 of that V stitch that we made there. We did a double crochet, V stitch, a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. So we're doing yarn over times 3, so we're doing 3 times trebles, 3 times 3, so we're doing 3 trebles together. 3 times 3 trebles, no, we're not doing that. Close, chain 3, yarn over twice, and back into that same space. Okay, so just make sure that you're not picking up any other strands. It's a little bit tricky, but really it's quite easy. So 1, 2, yarn over twice, do that again, 1, 2, yarn over twice, and again, 1, 2, yarn over, chain 1 to close, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yarn over, work over both of your chain 1 corner spaces, we're going to work 2 double crochets. Are we working double crochets? No, we're working trebles. No, we're working double crochets. Chain 1 to close, 2 double crochets, chain 1 to close, chain 2, quite a lot going on here, 2 double crochets together, chain 1 to close, 2 double crochets together, chain 1 to close, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yarn over. We're going to go all the way back to our V-stitch over there, and we're going to work into the chain 1 of that V-stitch. So we're just going to share that space with our, remember we're doing trebles there, going to share that space with those 2 double crochets. I'm going to work between those 2 double crochets that were made into that space. There's a lot of sirens going on, and I suspect that there is a wildfire somewhere because we've had extremely hot weather and quite a big wind. Chain 3, yarn over twice, work into that chain 1 space, 1, 2, and work those 3 trebles together. Okay, so you know, I sort of recommend these patterns for intermediate crochets, but actually anyone can do it if you can follow the videos. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yarn over, and we're going to work over our single crochet, and I mean over our single chain 1 and our 2 chain 1s. So our chain 1 and our 2 chain 1s of those 2 corners. So just make sure you're going into the right space. The light is getting a little bit bad here now, so 1, 2, yarn over, squeaky yarn, okay, and another 2 double crochets together. So I'm just going to stop there and chain 1 to close. So let's just pull this out, and then you can have a squiz and see exactly what's going on here. Right, so it's going to look like that. That's going to look like that. Your corners are going to look like that. Right, your little flower in the center. Okay, so basically you're just building up your corner there. Right, like that. So that's going to look like that. Right, so you've got, so for your corners you're going to have 4 times 2 double crochets together plus a chain 2 corner space. Then you're going to have a chain 5, then you'll have a 3 trebles together, chain 3, 3 trebles together into that V stitch. Alright, then you're going to have a chain 5 and you're going to repeat your corners. Okay, I think that's pretty simple. So I'm going to see you at the end of round number 9, and we'll go on to round number 10 together. Okay, and to close you're just going to slip stitch into the top of your first chain 3 of your 2 double crochets together. Okay, again the rule here is work extra chains of 1 extra chain or so if you feel that your work is pulling. Alright, you know, it should lie nice and flat, well, not flat because it is layered, deliberately layered. Right, so check, make sure everything is correct before your stitch count, everything is in the right place before you work in your tails. Okay, so that is round number 9 and done and dusted. And I shall see you at round number 10.